Yes, sir. So first in the resume, you need to keep a few points. First in the summary section, let me open my resume. I'll keep them. No problem. First, you have to mention your number of years of experience. You have to say, I have so X plus years of experience on both manual and automation testing using on different web applications. You can say on different web applications. And then you can say, so I have good experience with different stages of SDLC, STLC, and bug life cycle. Next point, you can say I have good experience in designing automation test cases using Selenium, and also you can say good experience with programming language Java. And next point, you can say I have good experience in uh, writing the functional test cases, automation test cases, bug report summary, and test summary reports. And I have good experience in designing the automation test case using different frameworks like hybrid framework, data-driven framework, BAD Cucumber approach, JUnit and TestNG frameworks. And Then you can say I have good experience with API testing using Postman, and good experience with API testing automation using BD, Cucumber style REST assured framework. And I have good experience with the build tool, Maven. And I have good experience with uh, version control tool, Git and GitHub. And then you can say I have good experience with CI/CD tool, Jenkins. And then you can say I have good experience with Agile methodology. And yeah, Agile methodology is enough. Nowadays, everybody follows Agile process. You can tell only Agile process. And then, so you can say, that's it. In the summary section, you can include these points are more than enough. And then you can say, then you have academic, you tell academic section. So when you completed your so academics, so you can tell that. Then your skill set, you mention your skill set, like Selenium WebDriver, and this is the automation tool. You can mention Selenium WebDriver, and then frameworks you can mention hybrid framework, BD, uh, Cucumber, TestNG, JUnit, REST assured frameworks, JUnit and TestNG. These are the frameworks you mentioned. If you are good with all of them, you mention. If whichever you are not comfortable, don't mention anything. So make sure So while putting, so whichever point you are good, only that point you keep it. Otherwise, leave it. And then, so you have to keep which company you are working. So not sure, this is not opening. Which company you are working, from when to when, so that you can mention that. So education, company, then skill set. Skill set is you have to mention, okay, what are all the programming languages, what are all the tools, and so what frameworks, and database. So SQL also important. So SQL also you can mention. So after those points, the last section is project description section. At least one project you have to mention. At least one project you have to mention. So project is a very important. Project you should mention. First, project description, project name, who is the client, what technology is used in this project, and what are the automation tools you have used. Then project description. You explain the project description. So what is the project? So what exactly this project is doing? That you need to mention in the project. And then roles and responsibilities you have to mention below after project description. So the roles and responsibilities are okay. So what you will do as part of this project? First, you will read and understand the requirements. Second point, design the functional test cases based on the requirements. Then ask to review the functional test cases. Then execute the test cases and given environment. Then you will certify the feature on different environments like test, stage, environment. You will provide a sign off. Then once the sign off is provided, and parallelly you can do automation testing also. You can provide automation testing, design the automation test cases, run them locally and Jenkins. Then create a merge request. Okay, so PR, pull request. Basically, pull request you call that. Pull request. So any comments are there. So address the comments and merge the code using Git and GitHub tool. So with that particular stories, you have to mention. So what are the different, maybe you will get in a particular story or a task, basically you will get a task, right? That task you have to finish. So once the tasks are finished, you can complete the task. Once you complete the task, so you will get a new task. So that's a regular process. In every sprint or every 10 days, you will get the tasks or one task completed, next task they will give. So those are the things, and daily you provide the status to your manager, how much completed, how much pending. So those things you will check that. So every day you have to send the status report to your manager, your QA manager. So these are the, no, you have to put based on the experience. 5 years you are keeping, at least 2, 3 projects must be there. If it is a product, one project is enough. But you have to show how many, new features you are testing. If it is a product based company, or if it is a service based company, the client keep changing, right? So those projects you have to mention. So 2, 3 projects is good enough if you're putting a 5 years experience or 7 years experience also, or 7, 8 years, 4 projects you can keep it. More than enough. Yeah. So that's all about resume points. Okay, so after that, so let's discuss on the interview questions. Okay, first you can let's discuss on Java points. So in the Java basics, they will ask, no, what is static keyword? Explain about the static keyword. That's the first question. So they will ask this, and then they will ask, explain modifiers or like access modifiers. So you need to explain in detail access modifiers, where you will use, where you can access them with different entities. That you need to discuss that point also. And then, so you have next, what is the typecasting and what are different data types? And then if they ask you mostly on the variables, what are the different type of variables? Where you can use which variable, that they will ask. Then when it comes to control structures, they will ask increment, decrement operators, programming thing. With some expressions they will ask. Then they might ask you next question, break and continue difference. Then most important question when it comes to OOPS concept. So which are all OOPS concept you have used in automation? That question they will ask. So you have to link up in the Selenium. So where you have used, and then what is the difference between method overloading and method overriding, and difference between this and super keyword. And, what is the difference between abstract class and interface? What is runtime polymorphism? So that these are the questions on the OOPS concepts. Mostly you'll get them all. And then they will ask you about what are the different type of exceptions, secret and unsecret exceptions. And then how you will handle the exceptions. Then they will ask you about, so then they will ask you about there are changes. They might ask you on the difference between throw and throws keywords, final, finalize, and finally, the keyword differences. Then they will go for directly to string handling, and the string handling. So what are the difference between string and string buffer and string builder? And then they will ask you few questions like, how you will use, so what is a string literal, why you will use string literals. And then they will ask you on collections, mostly on collections. So they will ask you about collection hierarchy, difference between list and set, and difference on array list to linked list. and they'll ask you about map, how in hash map works internally, and then difference between comparable and comparator. And these are the things they will ask in the, so theoretic way. Programs wise, they will ask you how to check palindrome, reverse a number, and each time how many characters are occurring. So occurrence of each character using a map. They will ask you. These are the some of the questions. Just go through those programs also, very important. Mandatory one program in the interview. So for that you have to practice every day. Then you can solve the programs. Every day you practice few programs. Otherwise it's difficult to remember. Then when it comes to Selenium, first point they will ask, explain about your framework. So which framework you are using, and so then they will ask you difference between find elements, the difference between get and navigate to method, and how will you fetch broken links, how can you handle the broken links, and then how can you handle alerts, frames, and pop-up windows. That's another question. And then how can you handle menus, and then yeah, these are the things. And then mainly page object model, explain page object model, design pattern, and what are the advantages, and how will identify the objects, what is the difference between XPath uh, types, and difference between them, and which is the most preferable object identification, like CSS and object XPath. And these questions they will ask. Okay, and then when it comes to API, they will ask you about, so what are the different status codes, and difference between put and post, and SOAP and RESTful web service the differences, and main thing they will ask web services and API. And next question, in the Postman, how you will handle the, how will you validate the response body data in the Postman, and with the REST assured also, how will you handle that? And then they will ask mainly status codes, 401 and 403 status code difference, all 400 series, 500 series status codes you explain. Just not saying only it will throw this one. No, you have to explain very clearly. Okay, so that's the, okay. Next, yeah, so those are the things, but mainly they will ask questions, um, So why you are changing some, HR interview questions? Why are you changing company? And also they will ask you how much you are expecting. What is your current company? Uh, so then do you know, after interview, they'll ask, do you have any questions? So just ask, if you don't have any question, just say, no, I'm fine, thank you. Otherwise, you can ask, so what kind of technologies you're using and the projects you can ask. Otherwise, you can just say no. So these are the interview patterns, interview questions. So what they will ask, and also they might ask you in the rest assured one question. So where you have used regular expressions in your automation, they will ask. So that also you can answer. That's one thing. Yeah, so that's it. Please go through that and and prepare your resumes and send me. I'll send the sample resumes. You just give me your mail IDs so that I'll send some sample resumes. Then it will be so easy for you guys. Just no, just paste no chat in the chat. You just give your mail ID so that I'll forward those quickly. Sample resumes. Yeah, just give me your mail IDs. So these sample resumes you can take all the points from this, but don't take a resume that don't copy. So the content, entire content, their projects you have to keep. Okay. So give me one by one your email IDs. Okay. So anybody else? Yeah, that's it, right? Okay. Anyway, you have already Nila this. I sent already to you guys. Okay. So just take them and prepare your resumes and send it to me. Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you. All the best. And if you have any questions, you can come back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, Alesh, today you don't have class.